Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for LA, right-hander Dustin May, and for the Padres, right-hander Nick Pivetta. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 for this first meeting of 2025 between the Dodgers and Padres. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We hear from Jackson Merrill, Tyler Wade, Jeremiah Estrada. In just a little bit, we check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres come in 37-27. Dodgers are 39-27. Padres trail LA by 1 game for first place in the National League West. Padres just wrapped up a 7-game road trip to San Francisco and Milwaukee. They went 4-3 on the trip. Meanwhile, the Dodgers won yesterday in St. Louis, but they lost 2 of 3 in that series. The Dodgers are 10-12 in their last 22 games. And guess what? The Padres also just 10-12 in their last 22 games. However, with that said, Padres have won 10 of their last 16. These teams meet for the first time since the Dodgers beat the Padres in 5 games in last year's National League Division Series. They'll now play 7 games in the next 11 days. Padres won 8 out of 13 against the Dodgers in last year's regular season. It was the Padres' first regular season series victory against LA since 2010. Before we turn our full attention to today's game, let's recap yesterday's game in Milwaukee. The Padres played yet again another really, really close one.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Yesterday in Milwaukee, in just his second major league start, Ryan Berger went 5 innings and a third scoreless. He was terrific. The problem was the Padres didn't do anything against Brewers starter Freddie Peralta. He went 6 scoreless innings. So we had a scoreless game. Going to the top of the 7th inning, it was Manny Machado who led off.
Pitch to Manny, swung on, hit in the air to deep left field. Collins is back, he's at the wall, way back, gonna go! Long home run to left for Manny Machado. Second of the series, and another big one as the Padres get the first run of the day. It's 1-0.
Manny's 10th home run of the season, his 7th in the past 16 games. He continues to be sensational. The Padres bullpen bent, but it never broke. They kept the game scoreless going to the 9th inning. Robert Suarez came on.
3-2 to Turang. Suarez delivers and a little looper up the middle. Bogarts is back to make the catch on the outfield grass behind second base, and the ball game is over. Suarez comes on to shut the door. Padres with their league-leading 12th shutout win of the year.
Padres throwing 3 2/3 scoreless innings out of their bullpen combined. They take 2 out of 3 from the Brew Crew. It was the Padres' major league leading 12th shutout win of the season. What a nice win yesterday. Now the Padres come back home for this series opener against the Dodgers here at Petco Park. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know what is your key to today's game, or if you just want to say hi, let me know who you are and where you're tuned in from on this Monday. Might give you a shout out here on the air. Inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building, everybody having a good time. Plenty of Padres gear all over the place. Many fans enjoying their beers and their mixed drinks, all the great food offerings they have here in downtown San Diego. This should be a fun one. It's always fun when these two teams get together. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
All right, Tony, a little bit odd that we've waited until getting towards mid-June to see these two teams come together, but it is the first meeting of the season between the Padres and the Dodgers. For my money, Tony, the best rivalry in baseball right now. There's been, some things that would suggest they don't love each other, these two teams. Obviously, a lot of playoff history between these two teams, separated by just a couple of hours on the 5. What is your state of the relationship between these two teams as they meet for the first time this season?
First, Sam, have I told you how much I dislike this schedule that we have here with this, playing the Dodgers and not playing them until June and then finishing up before September even kicks off. But that's neither here or there. In terms of the type of relationship these two teams have, I think they aren't fond of one another, but there is an extreme mutual respect both ways. And I think the Padres have really earned that respect over the last couple of years. I felt like the Dodgers, anybody that they could tell that they felt like the Padres series was their World Series, basically, they told. And I think that is a recognition that this Padre team is a team that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, too. I was at Dave Roberts' pregame media availability earlier today, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something to the effect of he considers it a rivalry between these two teams, and part of that is the stakes are higher, right, than what they used to be. That's because of the types of games they're playing, the playoff series, certainly that's a part of it, but also the kind of talent the Padres have now they just a decade ago didn't have. So you've got stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, if you go back to, I would say that the very first time they met in the playoffs, which was 2020, at that point, Dave Roberts' answer was different. He didn't consider it a rivalry. But you fast forward 5 years later, that's how much ground that the Padres have covered in that time. Now, he considers it a rivalry, and he's right. Frankly, the Padres have forced it because they've gotten better as an organization, and that's what you want, man. This is, as you said, the best rivalry in baseball right now. And I honestly don't think there's very many that are close to it at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's the best rivalry in baseball, and it's fun, right? You have two teams that, like you said, are not fond of each other, which it's sports. It's fun, and should be a fun series here as these two teams meet for the first time and play 7 games against one another in the next 11 days. Let's talk about the baseball side of things. The Padres, to their credit, Tony, they're finding ways to win despite this offense really not producing all that much. Your thoughts on what the Padres offense continues to do in the past couple of weeks?
The one or two or maybe 3 opportunities they get, they're cashing them in. When teams make mistakes, you're cashing them in. And, when you're not hitting, and that is the sole kind of offense, that means everything else has to hold too. Pitching, defense, all of that has been phenomenal. I mean, the start they got from Ryan Bergert the other day was phenomenal. I just think that this bullpen, and you're starting to see some guys have to step up because of the usage of the bullpen, right? We've seen Reynolds pitch in the 7th, kind of taking Jeremiah Estrada's spot that day because he was down. We saw Yuki Matsui come in, pitch in a 9th inning and pitch in an 8th to kind of get things closer to where you needed it to. I just like that this team, even though they're not hitting on all cylinders offensively at all, they're still finding ways to get a W. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. They're finding ways a lot of the time and certainly keeping this thing afloat, more than afloat, even as their offense isn't really clicking all together. Finally, the starting pitching matchup today, Nick Pivetta against Dustin May, should be interesting because both guys are are kind of, I don't want to say emotional on the mound, but they do show a lot of emotions. We know Nick Pivetta, he gets fired up. Dustin May, another guy who can get fired up. Let's focus on the Pivetta piece of it. Obviously, he's been terrific. What do you expect from Nick Pivetta against what is a great Dodger lineup here today?
These guys are both, they have I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. A red, right? They both pitch like that, and that's what makes them good. In terms of Nick, man, he's been so solid all year long. I don't expect him to do much different, right? He's going to use that fastball at the top of the zone. Obviously, I think you have to, against this lineup in particular, you got to make sure that you're not leaving stuff over the middle of the plate, because this team will hammer you that way. But we've seen over the past couple of years this staff, no matter who it is, come up with a good formula to attack this Dodger offense. And I would expect that Nick Pivetta is more than up for the challenge here tonight as he faces a good Dodger offense.
All right, Tony, good stuff as always. And we should mention that you can talk about the rivalry and these teams not liking each other. Meanwhile, they're all you need to know is they're separated by a game in the standings for first place right now. So it makes the next 7 games in a week and a half very, very important. Tony, great stuff. Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 6:30. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game here at Petco Park. It has turned into a beautiful early evening here in downtown San Diego. You heard me over the weekend talking about how all we had was June gloom, overcast skies. Well, I am happy to report if you're on the way to the game right now, it is an absolutely gorgeous early evening, bright blue skies. The sun is shining. Should be a packed house. This place should be rocking on this Monday night, first meeting of 2025 between the Padres and the Dodgers. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, plus a little bit later, we hear from Jackson Merrill, Tyler Wade, Jeremiah Estrada, much more to come on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the LA Dodgers. We'll hear from Mike Shildt in just a moment. We'll also hear from Jackson Merrill, from Tyler Wade, from Jeremiah Estrada in a little while as well. Our keys to the game and a full breakdown of this pitching matchup coming up a little bit later in our pregame coverage. A look at the lineup today for the Padres. It looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arraez at first base batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Jackson Merrill in center batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets, the DH, batting fifth. Sander Bogaerts at shortstop batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Tyler Wade in left field batting eighth. And Elias Diaz doing the catching and batting ninth with right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound. Lineup today for LA: Shohei Ohtani, the DH, leading off. Mookie Betts at shortstop batting second. Freddie Freeman at first base batting third. Teoscar Hernandez in right batting cleanup. Will Smith at catcher batting fifth. Max Muncy, the third baseman, batting sixth. Andy Pages in left field batting seventh. Tommy Edman in second base batting eighth. And Hai-Sung Kim in center batting ninth with right-hander Dustin May on the mound. With all that in mind, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt before this series opener.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
A little unusual to be facing the Dodgers a third of the way into the season. Has that added to the anticipation of this series at all for you?
Quite frankly, not really. Not for me, at least. I know there's been anticipation, and I have been asked recently about the schedule and playing them a little bit later in the season, and quite frankly, I hadn't thought about it. And as we play who is on the schedule, so today they're on the schedule, and here we are.
How about any unfinished business from how the season ended last year against this ball club?
There's unfinished business against everybody. Yeah.
As far as how important is the next 10 games, 7 out of the next 10 against this team, and obviously it can determine the division title, playoff potential, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bore you with my answers consistently because I view things in a very day-by-day, team-by-team. There's a 162-game schedule. They're all equally important. At the end of it, I won't devalue the fact that a head-to-head competition isn't important, and but head-to-head competition is important against whoever we play. So, yeah, I mean, we just got through playing a stretch of games that were important. Today's important. Tomorrow's going to be important. A month from now, you're going to ask a similar question, and I get it completely. And, but I'm not going to make it bigger than it is, and we're going to show up and play baseball today, and couldn't be more excited, I can tell you that.
How nice to have Nick Levitt on the mound. He's been throwing the ball so well for you guys.
Yeah, Nick's been great. He's been fantastic. He's throwing the ball well, and that's a good guy to start the series.
Like, what do you make of just the stretch that you guys have been in? It seems like every game's a close game. Injuries, maybe guys kind of a little bit down, and the fact that despite all that, you've been able to more often than not find a win.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, I'm really, really pleased, throughout quite honestly, the whole season. I mean, and that's just, we talk about winners finding solutions, and no one's going to feel sorry for you in this league necessarily. And we're not going to make excuses for anything. But the fact of the matter is we've had, talking to Michael and Darvish questions already that, rightfully get asked a lot. And they haven't been able to participate recently. And, in U's case, not yet at all. And so, we've had Crony and Jackson miss over a month, and Jay Hayes been out. And, guys have been dinged up. Louis was out for a while, and guys are playing banged up right now, which is at that time of the season where guys are doing that, but they're doing it well and they're posting. And, end of the day, we're playing it together and doing as good as we can fundamentally to shake hands every day, and that's the goal.
I know not wanting to make too much of this particular series, is there anything you can do? Can you use what happened in October, motivation, anything like that, or is it completely flushed?
I mean, listen, there's Scan's question. I mean, look, do we need more motivation? No, we don't need more motivation. We had, if you want to talk specifically about the team we're playing, we beat them head-to-head during the season last year. We lost in the 5th game in the playoffs. It was as close as you can make it. So, more motivation, better, more or less. We're going to go and do like you did last year. We're going to go up and play them head-to-head, and we couldn't be more excited to do it.
Like, you might say that it's just another series, but I know your fans don't feel that way. What are you expecting, just starting with tonight?
Yeah, no, I understand. Listen, I can only speak from my perspective, and I think that's a healthy win over the course of doing this for a while, over the course of, just playing baseball and not making things bigger than they are. We talk about that with players, and I think it's applicable regardless who we play. We're going to respect and compete against our opponent. So that has worked well and will work well. Relative to the excitement around, I get it completely. The stadium's going to be rocking. It's going to be fantastic. I appreciate the heightened awareness to what likely is the best rivalry in baseball. And, as far as what to look for, you're going to look to see good, hard-nosed baseball and us getting after it as hard as we can at every turn.
How big has Manny been for your team last few weeks?
Manny's been tremendous for our team all the time. Manny's just, he's a cornerstone of what this organization is doing well consistently over the last several years, and he's a big part of it. And I'm really proud of him and excited for what he's done for us. He's been great.
Muncy had this great comment during the postseason that the Padres try to get under their skin on purpose, like doing things like bat flipping after a single. Have you noticed that about your team?
I've heard that comment. I've not noticed it about the team. As far as getting under people's skin, that streak can go both ways. But I choose not to let that happen. Again, we look to compete, and it's interesting if people want to look for things that may or may not be there to motivate them. But I can't speak to that.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear a little bit more from Mike a little bit later, get the latest updates on Yu Darvish and Michael King. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here at Petco Park as we get ready for this series opener between the Padres and the LA Dodgers. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We take a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for today's game here on the Padres Radio Network. In the hot category, a guy who seemingly has been in there a lot lately, Manny Machado. His last 16 games, Manny is hitting .355 with 7 home runs and 13 RBIs. Manny in the midst of a 6-game hitting streak. In that hitting streak, 11 for 24 with 3 home runs in those 6 games. His .318 batting average ranks 3rd in the National League. He's also top 10 in OPS at .897. As far as the not category, well, we focus on Fernando Tatis Jr. This has been a rough stretch, Fernando. We know that. Last 33 games since the beginning of May, a .185 batting average, .602 OPS, just 10 runs knocked in those 33 games, a .259 batting average for the season now, just a .793 OPS, and we'll see if this series against the Dodgers gets Fernando going. He loves the rivalry and the big moment, so we'll see if that can get Fernando Tatis Jr. on the right side of things once again. That's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for this series opener here at Petco Park. Now let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn, presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
We take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues as we get ready for this series opener here in San Diego. The Red Sox calling up their top prospect, Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect in baseball. Red Sox are hopeful that he can provide a jolt to a team that's been pretty disappointing over the season's first 67 games. So Roman Anthony, a much-anticipated Major League debut coming up. A.J. Smith-Shawver of the Braves, a very talented right-hander, underwent Tommy John surgery earlier today, had reconstructive surgery on the ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow. He'll be out for the rest of the season and likely the start of next season as well. Guardians activating outfielder Lane Thomas off the IL earlier today. He was dealing with plantar fasciitis. A couple of other headlines for you around Major League Baseball. Yuri Perez, who had been dealing with injuries, he makes his long-awaited return from recovering from Tommy John surgery. He last pitched in a major league game 628 days ago, September of 2023. So Perez on the mound today for the Miami Marlins, and Terry Francona making his return to Cleveland as manager of the Reds. Of course, Francona managed Cleveland for 11 seasons and is the winningest manager in franchise history. And we'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later as well. When we come back, we get the latest on Yu Darvish and Michael King. We also hear from Jackson Merrill, Jeremiah Estrada, and much, much more. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego on the Padres Radio Network. Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Game one of this three-game series between the Padres and the LA Dodgers. Right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres. Right-hander Dustin May on the mound for LA. Let's get the latest on Yu Darvish and Michael King.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, as you probably know, Yu Darvish and Michael King continue to be on the IL. Here was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today. First, the latest on Yu Darvish.
He was going to get a bullpen with some ups and downs. So run 15 pitches up and then take a little break and then another 15 or so back up again and see where it goes. That's a good sign, right?
How about Michael? What has he been doing?
Michael's been learning a lot about what he's dealing with our medical staff. Is also on that learning curve of what it is and still continue to gather a lot of information. You know, rest is the prescription right now. He has played some catch, but nothing too aggressive and consistent. So we're just in a holding pattern to see what it is and the best way to treat it, if there is a better way to treat it outside of just the rest.
That was Mike Shildt, the latest on Michael King and Yu Darvish. So not a ton of new news, but we continue to see what the steps are for King, what the steps are for Yu Darvish. You heard there, you will throw some up and down bullpen. So good news, he continues to make progress as he tries to work his way back. Hopefully those two guys back as soon as possible. Very important to the Padres rotation. Well, speaking of pitching, right-hander Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres today in this series opener against the Dodgers. Pivetta in the midst of a really nice first half, a 3.16 ERA in 12 starts on the season, 68+ innings, 76 strikeouts. Here was Jackson Merrill, a center fielder, earlier today, talking about playing behind Nick Pivetta.
Excited to play behind him. It fires me up. Everybody's locked in. He works quick, works fast, throws the ball in the zone. It's really electric behind him, so I'm excited.
How would you describe what Manny's done for the team, especially here the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's cool to watch. I'm on deck watching him do it, so I got the best seat in the house. I saw him do it the whole time I was growing up at home. It's nothing new to me. I'm sure they have it for him.
What's it say about the success that you've had the last few weeks, despite having to grind it out, injuries, that sort of thing? You guys continue to find a way.
Yeah, sometimes baseball is slow, but you got to expect that we're going to heat up at some point. So we're just sitting here ready to go at some point. It's going to burst open. Just got to be patient.
Jack, you talk about that Baltimore boys. Give love to Baltimore, you and Gavin. Talk about that a little bit, man.
Yeah, kind of cool. Your locker mate's from the same place you are, so it's a small world, kind of invisible string, but it's pretty dope. It's exciting to see him dominate.
It's 8 months since Game 5. How long did it take you to kind of get over that, and how nice is it that baseball always gives you another chance next season to start over?
You got to move on to the next day for me. I mean, you can sit there and say a bunch of things about how we lost, why we lost, but you just got to move on. I was looking forward to the next year as soon as we lost. Kind of just get back out here and compete and show we're a good team.
Is there any fuel for this series, or is it completely flushed?
We don't really think about that. You got to think about the present, not the past.
That was Padres center fielder Jackson Merrill inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today. We'll hear from Jeremiah Estrada and Tyler Wade coming up in just a little bit. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1, hey bats, the time is now. The Padres offense has not been clicking for a while now. Since May 11th, the Padres have scored just 82 runs combined in a span of 26 games. That ranks second to last in the major leagues in that span. In those 26 games, the Padres are batting a combined .213 with a .602 team OPS. Padres have just 5 home runs in their last 11 games. All those have come from either Manny Machado or Gavin Sheets. So, you probably know some of this by now. It has not been a great offensive few weeks. That may have been okay at times over the past few weeks, but against this LA Dodgers team, it's going to be hard to win games if you can't score more than a few runs. The Dodgers lead the majors in runs scored since May 11th. So the bottom line is this: Padres got to get this offense going. A homer from Manny, that's not going to be enough. Got to get this offense going one way or another. That's key number 1. Key number 2, hey, Pivetta, don't let the lefties hurt you. Nick Pivetta, having a great season, has typically been very good against the Dodgers. However, a couple of big-time lefties in this lineup have hit him pretty well in the past. Freddie Freeman, .333 batting average with 5 extra base hits lifetime against Pivetta. Shohei Ohtani, 4 for 12 with 2 home runs against Pivetta. Ohtani, though, hitting just .258 so far in the month of June. So those matchups against Freeman and Ohtani, very, very important today for Nick Pivetta. Key number 3, the power of the pen. The Padres bullpen was fantastic on the road trip, and if you go back to the last few weeks, they've been great for a while. Padres relievers have a combined 1.61 ERA in their last 17 games. Padres need that bullpen to be good once again here today and in this series. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. Well, speaking of the bullpen, Jeremiah Estrada continues to be excellent in year number 2 with the Padres. Here was Jeremiah on facing the LA Dodgers.
Just another day of baseball, to be honest. At the end of the day, they got a squad in them. We got a squad with us. We're going to do what we can do to try to get this win today. And that's about it, It's a new year, so we'll see how this goes.
What do you make of what the team has done the last few weeks? Games have been really, really tight. Haven't maybe not been 100%, but you've still found ways to get it done.
think every team goes through a phase. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. Some teams are going to go through some aches and pains. Some guys are going to be playing with aches and pains, and some guys are just going to be on a hot streak and then on a cold streak. It's a roller coaster. This game's a very humbling sport. But every day we come ready to play, especially with the brotherhood that we have. We all have each other's back, and, we're all here to pick up each other. And just how the game goes, whether it's a low-score game, high-score game, at the end of the day, it happens, But we keep our head up and we play our asses off. That's about it. That's all we could do.
Talk about 3 games this week, then 4 up there. How cool is that to just kind of play them, 7 times in a 2-week window?
That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. It's just nothing changes. Every day we're going to do what we can do to play our best game. I think the most concern right now with, all teams in baseball is keeping each guy healthy in that field. Pitching staff, hitters, today, it could be a little bit of a spark up, like a little energy boost because, there's a rivalry involved. The fans make it a lot more exciting. But, I just can't wait to see what goes on,
What's it like watching Pavetta go out there and have the ball for game 1 tonight? How cool is that?
The energy he brings when he comes out there to pitch, it's electric. It's pumped up. There's some guys who can pitch calmly, and like Kyle Hendricks, because when I was with the Cubs, it was just awesome to see Kyle Hendricks. And he showed no emotion. And you got Pavetta, and he's striking out the side, and that man's screaming just like how I do. And then reliever-wise, Suarez will punch out and get the save, and then me, I'm over here lit, and I'm like, okay, that's 2 different people, But we get the job done. We do what we could do, but it's kind of ways of the way people can enjoy, and everybody's different.
That was Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Reds leading the Guardians 6-4 in Cleveland in the 9th inning. The Pirates lead the Marlins 8-2 in Pittsburgh in the 6th inning. Cubs and the Phillies tied at 2, bottom half of the 9th inning in Philadelphia right now. Rays leading the Red Sox 6-3 at Fenway Park in the 7th inning. Braves 3, Brewers 1 in Milwaukee in the 6th inning. Blue Jays and Cardinals in St. Louis right now in the 6th inning. Toronto leading 2-0. Games yet to begin. A couple aside from this one, A's and the Angels at 6:38 in Anaheim. And finally, Mariners and the Diamondbacks in Arizona at 6:40. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more on those games coming up a little bit later in our post-game coverage. When we come back, we hear from today's left fielder, Tyler Wade. Plus, we have a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Nick Pivetta and Dustin May. First pitch coming up at 6:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network. The EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40. The series opener between the Padres and the LA Dodgers. First meeting of 2025 between these two Southern California rivals. We'll hear from today's left fielder, Tyler Wade, coming up in just a little bit. First, let's tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
Let's dive into an important detail on today's Dodgers starting pitcher, Dustin May. May is a right-hander the Padres should be able to run against, and here's why. May has allowed 10 steals in 12 attempts so far this season, has not done a great job holding base runners. Xander Bogaerts is 12 for 12 in steal attempts this season. Fernando Tatis Jr., 12 for 14 in stolen base attempts so far this season. So what to watch for in today's game? Can the Padres take advantage of Dustin May being a guy that you can run against? We saw the Padres be very aggressive on the bases early in the season. Last month or so, not so much. Do they try to run when they get on base against Dustin May? That's what to watch for in today's game. Tyler Wade in left field today against the right-hander Dustin May. Here was Tyler Wade inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today.
How strange is it to not be playing the Dodgers till almost a third of the way through the season?
Yeah, especially since we opened up against them last year, and I felt like we played them every week. But no, they've been playing good ball, and it's always a fun series to play against them.
Does waiting add to the anticipation a little bit?
No, not really. I think, we watch what they do, they watch what we do, and it's always a fun time.
How important might this series be? Obviously, the head-to-head matchups could be a determinant in who wins the division or who goes to the postseason.
Yeah, we have a really good division this year. And I think all division games are super important, especially against these guys.
What kind of energy are you anticipating from these Padres fans tonight? Playoff type atmosphere, some good energy?
Playoff type atmosphere. It's going to be similar to what we had last year in October, so I'm really looking forward to it.
How much will October be in mind, if at all, going into a series like this?
No, I just think we're handling it one day at a time. That's a long ways away, and we just got to handle business tonight.
And just given the way that you guys have played so many close games, what does it say about the team that more often than not you guys have found a way?
Yeah, we haven't found our stride yet, and that just shows the greediness that we have as a team. We just find a way to score one more run than the other team.
Tyler, talk about you're going to get them 3 times and then 4 times up there next week. Just kind of talk about 7 games in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight, man. It's always, like I said, it's always a good time playing against these guys. They have a really good team, so do we, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's been 8 months since Game 5. How long did it take to get over that, and how nice is it to always have a fresh start again every year?
Yeah, that one hurt. I don't really remember how long it took. Didn't watch the playoffs after that. But yeah, it's a fresh start. New team on both sides, and I think we're both looking forward to it.
Tyler, what's it like going to be behind Pavetta tonight? He's been just awesome. What's it like playing behind him?
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. He's got great energy. We feed off that. He works quick, and we look forward to seeing him doing his thing tonight, and hopefully we can get him some run support.
That was Tyler Wade earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. We got a photo here. Quick photo on the air. All right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Enjoy the game, guys. Okay. Enjoy the game. Hey, everybody's excited here inside the loft. Getting ready for this one. First pitch coming out at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. Well, as we know, the Padres have played a lot of close games as of late. The Padres' last 10 wins have come by just 1 or 2 runs. Padres 10-7 in their last 17 games, and 15 of those games have been decided by 1 or 2 runs. So it will be very interesting to see if this trend of really close games, very intense games, if it continues against the Dodgers this week here at Petco Park. And you heard a few questions throughout the pregame coverage today asking about the fact that the Padres and Dodgers have not played each other so far this season. And in fact, it is a little bit weird that they have not seen each other this deep into a year. This is the furthest the teams have gone into a season without playing each other since the year 2000. So we get our first taste of the Padres and Dodgers here tonight. First of 7 games the Padres and Dodgers will play in the next 11 days. Our starting pitching matchup, Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres, Dustin May on the mound for LA. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
On the mound for the Padres today, right-hander Nick Pivetta. Pivetta comes in a record of 6-2, 3.16 ERA, 12 starts on the year, 68 innings and a third. He struck out 76 and walked 19. His last start against the Giants gave up 5 runs on 6 hits in 6+ innings. Traditionally, Nick has been very good against the LA Dodgers, a 1.78 ERA in 5 career starts against them. His most recent start came last season with the Red Sox. He threw 6 scoreless innings back last summer in LA. So good news, Nick Pivetta has been very good against the Dodgers in his career. On the mound for LA, right-hander Dustin May, 3-4, a 4.09 ERA and 11 starts on the season, 61 innings and 2/3. He struck out 63, walked 22. His last start against the Mets, he gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. May has a 3.77 career ERA against the Padres since the start of 2021, but May has not seen the Padres since 2023. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup here today. Dustin May for the Dodgers and Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres. As always, we appreciate you listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Let's set the table one more time for you as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Padres come in 37-27. The Dodgers at 39-27. Just one game separating these two teams for first place in the National League West. Padres trailing LA by just the game. Padres just wrapped up a 7-game road trip to San Francisco and Milwaukee. They went 4-3 on the trip. Dodgers won yesterday in St. Louis. They lost 2 of 3 in that series. These teams meeting for the first time since the Dodgers beat the Padres in that 5th and final game of last year's National League Division Series. Like we've said, now 7 games in the next 11 days. Remember, the Padres won 8 of 13 from the Dodgers in last year's regular season. Can the Padres beat the Dodgers in game 1 of their 2025 meetings here today? Well, we're going to find out. When we come back, Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Talk to you later, everybody.